Greetings, everybody. Patrick here. 8 questions with. Ta-da! Well, welcome back to the second half of our double header. We interviewed actor and small business owner Rocky Reynolds earlier, and now we are back tonight with our interview with filmmaker Garo Setian and his lovely wife Anna. They'll be here in about 15 minutes, and we will be talking about a lot of different things. So this is definitely a show that you want to come out to and hang out with. And welcome, Monica. Welcome to the show. Glad you are here. That's awesome. I don't know if I've ever met you before or not, but you are more than welcome to come out and hang out with us. Hi, Jennifer. And I saw that you just released your new pros, which I will be taking a look at. And actually, I'll probably be actually mentioning that on Sunday. There's some really good stuff coming from you, Jennifer. We will be talking about with Garo and Anna about their new movie, Space Wars, which Space Wars, the quest for the Deep Star. Hey, there's our favorite publicist, Stephen Chang, in the house. Glad to meet you. Glad to meet you. Once again, meeting here at this place and at this time. It's always good to see good, new faces and friendly faces at that. I'm running a little behind, which is why I'm catching my breath and rambling. So yeah, I really like this movie that we're going to be talking about. This was so much fun. I got to watch it, Space Wars, and man, that tells you it shows you that movies like this can be made smartly, can be made with a story first and foremost, can be made with established talent that is not phoning it in, that's given their all, and yet still have a lot of humor to it. This is a very fun movie to watch. Really enjoy Space Wars so much, and I am blown away by it. And obviously, a lot of people are too, because the reviews have been really good. Of course, we don't take into account Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb too much. I never give those places any really hard credit. I just go based on what I see and what I read. Obviously, we know that critics' places can be corrupted and often are, quite honestly. Uh, all right. Yeah, that's a real shame for that to say that. You like like a place like a Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. You do sort of like to think that you're coming to a good place where you can get a good, honest opinion. And I post my interviews there, the movies that I interview. But a lot of those places they're just like I said, they're not very honest. They're not very well run. Um, uh, they're not policed. They're not. No one does any maintenance on it. You go there and and they'll have a movie will have 20 reviews, and half of those reviews, the websites are either gone, defunct, gone, links are broken, and yet there they are still saying that there's 20 reviews out there, and all it does is just hurt the filmmaker in the long run, hurts the filmmaker, it hurts us, the viewer, in the long run. A lot of times people go to unfortunately, we're conditioned by numbers. So they'll go to a movie and they'll see a movie has like a 2.2, and they immediately assume that that's a really bad movie. A lot of it could be because there's not enough votes there yet. It could be because they got bombed by a lot of people that just wanted to be trolls, and they go ahead and they bomb it to drive the score down. We see that with the Star Trek and Star Wars fans, the MCU and the DC fans. They go to each other's movies and give them 1 stars. and it just all does is just create a false narrative of how well a movie's doing or how well it's being received. So you really can't take a lot of those websites really credible at all. They're not really credible. Um, I tend to go and read individual reviews as far as that goes. Hi Echo, how are you? All right. Our good friend Echo is here. He'll be joining Ocean Chick Films and the Net Necessities at 10 o'clock on the Nets channel for to watch the Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2013, the remake. That will be a lot of fun. That's a fun movie. What's really cool about this movie, Space Wars, is like I said, one of the things that really caught my attention right off the bat was just the sheer level of talent on the movie. Um, this is a well cast movie, and definitely one of the reasons why we talking to with Garo about this, because he really pulled together a hell of a cast. Michael Perry is in here. Sarah French, Rachel Brooks Smith. Man, she was great as Nina. Anna Setian played Jackie. She stole every scene she was in. Elise Muller was in it. Another solid actor. We had 80s and 90s fight guy, action adventure god. Oliver Grunner was in it playing Dystra. I think Dystra was a nod to John Dystra, who did the special effects on Star Wars, but we'll ask him about that as well. Tyler Gallant played Wade. Now, I got to be honest with you, that was one of the best performances of the movie, too. That had a potential to fall into a trope, and credit to Garrel for not falling into that. It's okay once in a while to be evil. we This isn't a Fast and Furious movie where everybody starts the movie as evil. By the end of the movie, they join Dominic's family. Right? It's okay once in a while to have a person be from bad A to bad Z. I like it. Of course, this movie also has Jed Rowan in here playing Max. Hunter Sentian, I believe that will be Garrel's son. He played Ezekiel, which was a really fun part. And of course, I saved our favorite for last. And we definitely going to have to see her back in part two. Sadie Katz is Elnora. And believe me, when I tell you, Sadie Katz is so cute in this movie. She is really, really fun in this movie. She looked like she was having a ball. And it all shows on the screen. Even the villains that have, they're going to end up meeting their demise, they're still laughing on their way to it. They're having a great time. This is a great adventure. It has kaiju in it. How could you not love a movie that has kaiju in it? It has space battles. It has everything in this movie. Yes, Elise Muller was in it. That's right. She plays Sarah French's mom, which I don't understand how that could happen since Elise looks so young. I don't know. Must be some sort of space thing. So our guest today will be, yep, our guest will be here shortly. I will let you know some more dates in June. I did this last show, but I'm going to do it again. So some of the dates that we have in June, we'll start off with June 11th. June 11th, we're going to have our own Stephen Chang will be our guest. Our Stephen Chang will be our guest. That will be at 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's right. Steven's going to come over here. We're going to interview him, and we're going to see how he got his start in promoting people and what drives him to promote. So we will be talking with Steven on June 11th, Sunday at 3 p.m. On Monday the 12th, we have another matinee show at 3 p.m. We will be welcoming in guitarist John Christ from the band Danzig. He played for the band Danzig, and he will be here. And we are going to have a massive panel for that. We will have a massive panel. John Christ himself, Jerry Montano, bass player extraordinaire, will be joined by two of the Friendly Men. Two, Jonas will be joining us, and along with James from the Friendly Men. And then I also am bringing my partner, Jimmy Arsenal, to the party. So to interview John. It's going to be a hell of a show. All right. Our guest is here. Our guest is here. So I'm going to go ahead and let them know. I'm going to go ahead and let them know that well, first I better do this, right? All right. I don't know how I forgot that. All right. So here's our guest. Please welcome Garo and Anahit Setian. Here we go.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
How are you?
Good. Good. How are you?
Okay.
We're trying to figure out how to get us both in here. Hang on.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I think I can help out a little bit. Let me tell you. If it'll let me. Yeah, being a stinker.
Hold on. Here, we'll just back it up a little bit more. Hold on. There we go. Hey, there you go.
Ta-da.
Perfect.
All right.
Well, hello, Patrick.
Hello. I've been calling you Anna because I did not want to massacre your full name.
That's okay. It's pronounced Anahit.
Anahit. Okay. Yeah. Anahit. Okay. 'Cause I did not know how to pronounce it. So instead of just typically doing what I do of massacring the name, I decided just to call you Anna until I could ask you how to properly pronounce it. So
well, thank you for asking.
I found out, is this true? Are you guys from Ohio?
No. Where'd you hear that?
Somebody in my I promoted the show in the Ohio film group, and somebody pinged in there and mentioned that that they went to middle school with you, Garo, and they're going, oh wow, he made it. He was like, oh, he's making movies now, and I thought, wow, is he one of the Ohio's? Because Ohio,
it might maybe they moved to Ohio. I grew up in Massachusetts, in Longmeadow, Massachusetts.
So. Oh, okay. I just saw that and I'm like, wow, okay, this is sort of cool. I was wondering if this is going to be another Ohio, because Ohio right now is just white hot. Let's see. Yeah, screaming here, hand spelling the name helps out too. Oh, okay. I never even thought about that. I guess I could have. Yeah, but I think it would have knew it when it came out as Anahit.
Yeah, that's it. You just said it perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. I think if you spelled it out like that though, like hand spelling the name out, I think I would have been mispronouncing it.
That's all right. I usually say it's the name Anna and then add the word heat to it. But when I introduce myself, most people think Anna is my first name and Heat is my last.
No. Oh no. I knew that it was the one name. I just wasn't clear about pronouncing it. And like I said, good Lord, I have massacred so many names doing this show already.
That's all right.
So I don't want to do it. I don't like doing it if I don't possibly help it. If I can possibly help it.
I know it's an unusual. Both of our names are unusual for most people, but they're pretty common in the Armenian culture, and that's what we are. We're Armenian.
Armenians. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, I'm so glad you're here. We're talking about Space Wars. What a blast of joy that movie is. Seriously, that movie is everything. You know what? You want to take, really do feel like this. You really want to go take that movie. You want to go to every major studio, show them the movie, and say, this is what we want. This is what we want. This is what Hollywood needs right here.
Yeah.
It needs this type of movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be $350 million.
No.
It needs to be entertaining. It needs to be fun. It needs to have a great story. It needs to, it doesn't need to be complex.
No.
It could, I'm thoroughly entertained.
Yay! I'm so glad you liked it.
No, and I saw your review and you nailed it. I mean, that was our goal. We just wanted to make a fun-filled, entertaining ride of a movie with characters you cared about and a story that, you know, at least emotionally holds you for that 90 minutes. And you know, I think there's a kind of a lack of those sort of simple, straightforward adventure movies, you know, today in Hollywood. I mean, we have a lot of big franchise movies, which, you know, I like a lot of the big franchise movies like anybody does, but you do want something different occasionally. And we just, you know, it's almost out of my own personal frustration for not getting those kind of movies is that we ended up making one of these, you know?
It's funny because, you know, like I remember how hyped everybody was for, you know, when they announced the new Star Wars trilogy. And I remember how hyped everybody was. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be really fun. And then all of a sudden you just see this heavy handedness from Disney, you know, like dismissing what the fans have you know, have followed and have established. The books have established, the canon that they have established, and they just out of hand just swept it aside like they didn't, like, you know, whatever you say doesn't really matter. We're going to do what we're going to do. And yet those movies came out. Yes, they all made a lot of money, sure. But they're not talked about with any sort of love.
No,
They're just
no.
People went out and saw it maybe once or twice, and that's it. There's no love for it. There's no, not like for the first three movies. The first three movies are still talked about with much love and respect. And the new ones, it was just so heavy-handed. There was no fun, no joy in any of those movies.
Yeah.
And that's what we set out to do, is to give you the fun and the joy and the adventure, and to fill that empty space.
Yeah, and even the you know, the films that came out after Star Wars, the ones that were made sort of in the afterglow of it, like the 1980 Flash Gordon or Battle Beyond the Stars or Star Crash, all those films, whatever you think of them, there was a joy to those films and there was a life to it. And I could watch those films so easily again and again. They're just easy to watch and they're fun. And, you know, I got to admit, a lot of fantasy today has gotten very heavy-handed, as you said, bloated and kind of slow. And, you know, again, I like the Star Wars prequels. I think they're fun too. I mean, it's just, once you remove George Lucas from Star Wars, it's not really Star Wars anymore, you know, at least to me, you know.
It's funny you mentioned that because, you know, a lot of people mention their favorite Star Wars movies, and mine is, of course, Return of the Jedi. But my second one, believe it or not, was you know, the Revenge of the Sith.
Oh yeah,
you know, that was, you know, I mean, the writing was chunky, but good Lord, that last 30 minutes of it, you know, the fight between Anakin and just absolutely mind blowing between Obi-Wan and Anakin, mind blowingly good. Just
and I was blown away when Attack of the Clones came out. All the creatures in that movie, the arena battle, the whole like clone battle at the end, and just even those long-necked aliens on the planet where they were creating the clones. I mean, there were a lot of just cool, visually interesting things that were new that you haven't seen before. And it's that sense of exploration and excitement and adventure and discovery that I like about, you know, my fantasy movies. And it seems like, again, I know there's people, a certain contingent who really do love these new Star Wars movies, but to me, a lot of them feel like they're just taking the elements of the past and just repackaging them with no new visual imagination or pizzazz. I mean, it's just, okay, there's TIE fighters again. Oh, it's another Death Star.
Oh, they repeated the first three movies is what they did.
Right.
It's really just a remake of the first three, and not very well at that. I do have one question me and the Cheetah do want to ask you, and we're anxiously asking, waiting. So, like, if Space Wars 2 goes ahead, we just have one small request of the movie.
I think I remember what you were going to say.
Wait, I don't know this.
We want Elnora back. Can we please have Elnora back? Because we loved her.
We loved her too, and she's great in the movie. I mean, you know, we'll see. You never say never, you know.
Right.
I think you know, at least at the moment, my sort of what I have in mind, what we've talked about for for sequels is sort of each film being its own standalone adventure with the same characters. So it's like, you know, we take Kip, Taylor, and Jackie on a completely new quest with some new bad guys and a new, you know, so it doesn't become a saga like a Star Wars where it's like all building towards this big climax. You know, it seems like everything's always that, where I kind of liked films like the Sinbad movies or the old Star Trek, you know, where each episode was its own adventure, and then next week you can watch a whole new adventure. Where a lot of television today and movies, everything is very serialized, and it's like it's really, you're not watching one complete story, you're watching one small part of a story. So I don't know, but we'll see. You never know. You could always maybe have Elnora chasing people around again too. I mean,
maybe because, you know, I'm thinking her. I saw her the fighter you gave her. It looked pretty badass, and I'm thinking, you know, I think her shields could hold up. You know,
that was a pretty big explosion in the end.
I'm thinking her shields might make it. You know, put her on life support, put her in crypto, and send her back. You know, cryogenic sleep, send her back. But yeah, I congratulations on, that's one thing I have to say. So much was I absolutely loved the casting of the movie from top to bottom. Brilliantly done. A lot of thought went into that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't grabbing the first 20 people through the door. You broke it down. I want to know about the casting, what went into it. I know Jackie, I know Anahit, I know you were a producer, so I know you had input. So did you two sit down with paper and with a list of names and pictures? And did you just go over the casting one by one? Like, do you like her? Do you like him? What do you think?
You know what? Both Sarah French and Sadie Katz were in our first movie, Automation. And we worked so well with each other. And they were so good at taking direction, and they were so professional. We wanted to work with them again. So when we set out to write the movie, we wrote these parts for them. Yeah. And Sarah's boyfriend Joe is the writer. Thank you. I was going to say author.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he wrote for her, and he wrote for me and for Sadie because he knows all our strengths. And he knew,
and we knew, because Jeff Miller wanted something that would work for Michael Pare. Yep. So
we wrote for him.
We wrote that character, you know, for Pare. That's, you know, Joe was very good at finding the voice for everyone because he kind of already knew who was going to be playing a lot of parts. I mean, again, we weren't, you know, we didn't have anyone signed on the dotted line yet, but the intention was, Pare was going to be Kip, Anahit was going to be Jackie, Sarah was going to be Taylor. We knew we had those three for sure.
Yeah.
Elnora, we had in mind, we wanted to get Sadie. Tyler was already in for Wade because, you know, part of this whole inspiration of casting Sarah was she was doing these workouts, these military style workouts with Tyler. So and
posting them online, and Garo saw him. He goes, "Anna, come here, look at this. Yeah. Look what she can do."
Yeah.
And then after we watched, we got to make her into like an action hero. Yep. I think she'd love that. You know.
So that's really started it all too. I was one of the things I mentioned before you got here was I was really impressed with was that you kept Wade all the way black, all the way blue. You know,
that was intentional. Yep.
I mean, there's so many times where it's like they start black and they get a little gray toward the end, you know, and then sometimes they stay gray or they become an anti-hero. And for Wade, I mean, this is a little bit of a spoiler alert, but you did not do that. And he teased it, but he was as black as night.
Yeah.
It was all right with me because I was like, damn, he's just, you know, he's bad. He's evil.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody else on that ship had a little bit of, you know, a little bit of gray, but boy, not him. He was and Dystra, I have a feeling Dystra was named in honor of John Dystra. Was I wrong?
Yep, the special effects guy. Yep.
That was very
all cool. Those names. Kip Corman. It was Roger Corman. Stella Star, the space station, was
Yeah.
Stella Star from Star Crash. Xeno, Planet Xeno. Xeno was a character. Joe put that in there from Ice Pirates.
Oh my God, that's
There's a
crazy.
lot of things.
Yeah, you mentioned one movie earlier that I absolutely love so much. And speaking of Roger Corman, it's my favorite Roger Corman movie by forever, and that is Battle Beyond the Stars.
Yeah, love that
Uh,
movie.
Me too. That's what it was funny because the first time I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 1, I just thought I wish James Gunn would have went and watched Battle Beyond the Stars, because that was how a Star-Lord was actually created with his ship. His ship talked to him. That was, and it was just like I wish they would have just went back to that root, to the roots.
Have Nell, the speaking spaceship.
Yes. And it definitely, you can definitely tell both of you are in the fantasy and science fiction. Now,
Mhm.
has that always been the case? I know you each grew up separately, of course, but or better yet, let me ask this question: Is is fiction is fiction welcomed? I mean, is it like a big part of Armenian society? And because in the sense, because when you think of Armenia, the
Yeah,
country, you know, we what we get from over here, it's a tough land.
it
It's
is.
it's
Uh,
it's not like you see kids running down to the bookstore and buying books.
no,
Right.
most Armenian art is very cultural, based on history. Unfortunately, the genocide. Um, Armenians are very big on poetry, and the creative arts, as far as music, classical music, and choirs and hymns. Armenia, as you know, is the first nation to accept Christianity as their national religion, so they're very big with hymns and things like that. As far as now, if you turn on Armenian television right now, you're going to see a lot of soap operas. They really enjoy drama. And growing up, I did a lot of stage plays and things like this, and reciting poetry as far as the arts community was concerned. My mother also still is actually, an artist. She paints, and a lot of her paintings are in my room right now on the other side of the wall. You can't see. And so we would do a lot of art competitions together. She would do her competitions in painting, and I would do it in acting and reciting poetry and things like that.
Yeah, her mother writes poetry as well.
She has several books of poems and short stories. Um, but Armenians love drama.
Mm-hmm.
And I myself personally, I love fiction and I love reading nonfiction. I think there's so much we could learn from other people's lives.
But as far as like the fantasy and the science fiction, though, that sort of, even horror
Not
books,
so much.
yeah,
Not, yeah.
Not,
that's
I mean,
why that's
that's just
why
more me. That's just me liking monsters and things like that. I mean, I grew up a monster kid. I would watch the 4 o'clock movie. I'd watch, Godzilla movies and Gamera movies and Ray Harryhausen films and, that sort of stuff and
uh,
Hammer
who's
horror and things.
who's your favorite kaiju monster of the Godzilla verse?
I really liked, I really liked, I mean, I liked all the Godzilla movies and stuff, but the Gamera movies I found more fascinating as a kid because they were such weirder looking creatures in it. And
They
they were
definitely
new to me because I had kind of seen a lot of the Godzilla movies. And I'm like, what is this? And I really liked Gaius, this giant vampire bat
Yeah.
creature. that
Giles, yeah, Giles is pretty badass. Even though he did get his ass kicked by Gyron, and
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
chopped them up.
See, I
chopped him
wasn't
up.
introduced. I wasn't introduced to any of this until we had my son.
Yeah.
And then Garo had the pleasure of introducing him to all of these. And he would just snuggle with me on the couch and we watch it together. And I was like, I've never seen this.
Yeah, my
Oh,
son ended up watching like all the Ultraman episodes and
Oh, nice.
Iron King, and I mean, and he'd be watching it in Japanese with
And
with no
Godzilla, yeah.
subtitles. No subtitles. He'd just watch the shows. You know,
He had all the toys.
yeah.
Wow. So
That
you
was
guys,
my
so
introduction.
Kaiju was pretty big for you guys growing up. Now,
Yeah.
so did you watch it too, on a heat? Did you
No,
watch
just with my
Godzilla movie?
son.
Oh,
Like I didn't know
okay.
anything about it before then. I mean, for me, Alien was my favorite movie, sci-fi movie. That was my introduction. I was like, "Whoa, I love this."
And you liked
What a great,
Alien.
what a
Alien.
great introduction, though.
Yeah, yeah. And Ripley was awesome, and we wanted to make Taylor like her.
Yeah.
So
Right,
character.
right. And she actually, she really is. I let you know. I'll be honest with you. I sort of guessed her secret right off the bat.
Did
And
you?
I did.
Well,
But you know
we did
why?
leave little breadcrumbs in there.
Because I was hoping. Yes, I was hoping
Oh,
because
good. Okay.
because there's a couple of scenes in there where it's like, okay, that's a little bit, like, her power set was just a little bit, it's like, but that's cool though. But let's see where it goes. Let's see if they can take it where I think they are, and they did, and I was so happy. Like, this is so badass.
I like that it kept you guessing.
Yeah, and that was old Joe. He really, he wrote a great script. I mean, that was because when I came to him, I had sort of just a rough outline, and it was really just sort of a quest, sort of adventure. He brought in the emotional center of the story, where these characters are trying to bring the mom back, and helped it all make sense. Because my vision was really for specific action set pieces and stuff, and Joe helped come up with the overarching story and wrote these wonderful characters, and then it could connect everything together, and it just came out great.
I mean, obviously, I think the first thing we really have to acknowledge your cast for, more than anything else, because without this, I don't think anything works, is the fact that they all had a sense of fun. They
Yes.
all have fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all seen, and it's like, you get a couple of veteran character actors like, like Perrier and Oliver, and it could go south so easy, if they're just sitting there going like, yeah, okay, but they sold into it.
Yeah,
They
they all took it seriously, but there was, like you said, a sense of fun. And when people have asked me questions about the tone, because sometimes people seem a little confused, like they're just like, so what's the tone here? Are they taking it seriously or not? I can't tell. And it's like, well, if you watch Flash Gordon, the 1980 movie, that movie, you can laugh with the movie over the sort of tropes and some of the cornier dialogue and some of those moments. But for the characters in the movie, it's a life and death situation. It's completely serious to them. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the tone we're going for. I mean, we're not winking at the audience and saying, ha ha, you know what I'm saying? For everyone in the film, it's a real situation, but we're playing in a sandbox of like these fun sort of goofier movies, and it's okay to play in there and enjoy it for what it is. And actually, my previous movie, the previous one we did, Automation, had a very similar tone as well. Again, it was real for the characters in the movie, but it's kind of a little bit funny when you think about it.
With that, I think we need to warp back to the beginning here, because to find out exactly how you guys got your starts. And I guess we'll go with Anahit first. And where were you born and raised at?
I was born in Armenia.
Okay.
We immigrated to the United States when I was 7 years old. So I grew up in the Pasadena area.
Oh, okay. So you're a California girl.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a California boy.
Let's see. I have my bachelor's degree in film and television from Cal State LA. And that's where I met him on a blind date. He was getting his master's at USC. We met on a blind date. Yeah. He asked me to AD his master thesis film. And we did.
Yeah.
We were friends for 2.5 years before anything got romantic.
And then we dated for 2 years. And then I proposed. 6 months later, we were married. And here we are 24 years later.
That's amazing. You got to love a love story like that. You guys are such a perfect team, too.
Yeah.
Definitely, you definitely see that in the movie. You definitely can tell the love and affection throughout, and so how about you, Garo? Were you also born in Armenia, or were you born in
No, no, I was
Massachusetts?
born in Massachusetts. My dad was actually also, his father came here from Armenia.
Okay,
But yeah, I grew up in Longmeadow, Massachusetts. I, I've always been into movies. I used to work, my grandfather gave me an old 8 millimeter film camera, and I used to try and make my own movies. I used to try and do little stop motion animation stuff with it. And eventually I got a camera with a single frame option, and I was able to do that. And then I got a moviola so I could cut, and I would actually do the splicing of it. And then I got involved in public access television, and I would work for years with a Longmeadow Public Access, which had Channel 8. Back in these days, they used to have these, when you'd make a deal with a cable company for a town, it would include a channel just for the town.
right.
And they'd usually do like football games and committee meetings and ice hockey, or just whatever was going on locally. And I would work camera for those events. And I remember a friend of mine, Perry, and I, Perry Horowitz, we decided, gee, they got a whole TV station we have access to. Maybe we can do our own kind of sci-fi shows or horror shows and stuff. And I came up with this show called Valley of the Shadows, and it was like a Twilight Zone, and we
And it's
do
still
different
playing,
shows.
isn't it?
They were still playing it up until just a few years ago, which is remarkable
Oh,
because these are things we were doing in the
High school.
late 80s,
Yeah.
through
right.
the early 90s. But yeah, we did all these shows, and they piled up, and then they kept airing them years and years later. I'd get like messages, yeah, from kids in high school who were watching the show, which was like weird for them because it was like high school kids in 1988 making a show. Yeah, you know what I mean? But so they'd recognize the town, but it was from the 80s.
Now, did they save it on tape? Obviously, do you
Yeah,
have copies of it?
yeah, they were all done on like 3/4 inch video, like, or we would shoot them on VHS, like with a camcorder, and then transfer them to 3/4. I still have all the shows. And
Oh
then
wow,
I moved. I went to NYU for my undergrad. Then I moved out to California for grad school. And Anahit and I, we've been trying to make a movie for, when we started dating, we had these plans to try and make movies. And every time, you'd have something going, it seemed like it's going, and then it would fall apart. And then another, this one, we sold this script. Okay. So it just, these things would happen, over the years. But, as I tell everybody, a little piece of every broken dream came along and became what automation was 20 years later.
Yeah.
Now, after that started falling apart, because I mean, did you always intend to do? You were acting. That was all you wanted to do, right? You just wanted to act.
I
Now,
do.
because of all the producing, I mean, when you got to producing, was that because result of some of the movies that were falling apart, and you said, you know what, screw it, you know what, if we're gonna get this, I'm gonna have to make sure it gets done. Is that what moved you? Is that what moved you into go behind the scenes a little bit? Hey, no,
Oh,
nobody says no to women. Nobody don't no.
well, um, oh gosh, how do I approach that? I've always wanted to act since I was like in the 6th grade. That's kind of when I discovered that I have a talent for it,
Right.
But my parents wouldn't support me going to college for acting. Um, so I went and I got my degree in film and television behind the camera. So I always intended to go that route. I kind of put acting on the side. But when Garo saw my acting, ever since he's seen my acting, he's been my biggest and greatest supporter. And he's always encouraged me to pursue that. So off on the side, I'd be doing the acting, right? While we're creatively collaborating.
And we were, having a family at the time. I mean, she would go to auditions with our son. I mean, our son is 19 now, and she'd be going to auditions with him.
People would think I was there for him because he was so stinking adorable, but I'm like, no, he's with me. I mean, he would run lines with me in the car. He was so cool. He's such a cute little guy. but for this one, you know, I was taking care of the family when Garo did automation, and I just kind of got in at the last minute on that one. And so when we had an opportunity to do this one, I was like, I'd like to be a little more involved, you know? So I had more opportunity to put my finger stamp on that a little bit and to give more input. And I enjoyed it completely. And of course he needed the help too.
Yeah.
And I always go for her input, even when I'm doing trailers. I mean, we formed Hungry Monster Entertainment around 2015 or 16, 2015. And, you know, at the time, I mean, I was still working freelance at Lionsgate, and I eventually became a staff member there. I was there for 16 years, but we still had the other company, and we were able to do trailers for some other places and stuff. And anytime I'd work on a trailer, you know, I'd have, you know, Anahit come downstairs, say, okay, what do you think? You know, and we always were very collaborative, you know, on our stuff.
We're each other's sounding boards.
Yeah.
We know that we're going to tell each other the truth and love. You know? I'm not going to tell him what he wants to hear.
You just did the other day. You know, it was
Even
great.
though it's going to cost him a couple of hours of work, I'm like, no, it's not working.
Yeah.
You know what though? That's the best way to do it though, right? I mean, you know, trailers. That's really interesting that you worked there, because it worked in trailers, because man, that's a big topic here in us movie fans. We talk about trailers quite a bit, and you know, like it seems to be like trailers used to be so cool, and now, though I will say that Lionsgate has always done really good trailers. But man, it seems the trailers themselves these days, they seem to be giving away so much of the story.
Yeah, it's a real art form. I mean, especially, you know, because I've done like 430 of these now, like trailers and TV spots, and you know, mostly edited the trailers, but sometimes I'd even just produce them and work with other editors. You know, often when I'm working with a smaller budget movie, you know, it's that fine line between, well, you really want someone to see the movie, but you don't want to give everything away, but then I got to show something that makes this film special, you know? So there's always that trick, you know what I mean? Like if you have a thriller and it has a twist in it that makes it really unique, but if you don't reveal any of the twists, there's nothing unique about the movie. You know what I'm saying? So those are the kind of challenges you have as an editor, but you try and find creative solutions to that sort of thing. And a lot of trailer editing is also just good taste in music and understanding tempo and storytelling. My trailers tend to have a 3-act structure, you know, setup, you know,
like
middle,
a regular short film,
and then a big montage, you know.
like a short film. You know, short films could be 10 minutes long, but they could have, you know, it could be 10, 15, 20 minutes long, but they still have a start, a middle, and an ending to it.
Yeah.
But what I like about Garo is he likes movies. I mean, he loves movies so much. He can take the most low budget, awful film and make it look like an epic. That's just his gift.
You know what? Hold my beer, because I got some movies that I would challenge that with.
Okay.
Let's see. How many times have you been nominated?
I've had like 30 Golden Trailer nominations over the years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Won 3.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what three were they for?
Yeah, it was all in 2008. It was I won trashiest trailer of the year for a movie called Drive Through. I won best foreign horror movie for The I3, and then a best anime trailer for an animated Doctor Strange movie.
Oh, okay. I saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the Doctor Strange movie. Wow, okay, very cool.
Yep.
I remember that one. I remember that one very well. In fact, I think I do. I think I actually own that.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, I'm probably the most nominated of every trailer editor in town for trashiest trailer of the year. Because I think almost every year, without question, I've gotten at least one nomination for that.
Yeah, so but you got to spice things up though. Like you said, you know, you got to be able to have a little bit of fun. You got
Yeah.
to have a little bit of fun. You got to show off a beef cake or a little bit of cheesecake. You got to be able to show that off.
Well, it's either like the most sort of exploitive use of sex or violence in a movie trailer, and sometimes, again, in the genres I'm working, that's what I have to offer. But I've also been nominated for best voiceover, best music, most original trailer, best horror trailer, best thriller trailer. And those categories are all really special because they're like the major awards.
Mm-hmm.
And Hungry Monster's not a huge company.
It's just us.
It's just basically us. But the times I've been nominated for those categories, like the horror or thriller or most original trailer, I was in there with major vendors and their trailers. I mean, with like an army of people working on a trailer, and then the other one, here it is, it's just me.
I have what it is. I discovered this, and I've actually said this before. I thought about this because I was sitting there watching trailers. I gotta say this. I think as far as that goes, I think, and as far as editing goes too, I think the best editors are directors.
Well, you know what? He directs that way because he already had the movie edited in his head. He knew what he needed to shoot, and that's how he shot it. And I think we were watching behind the scenes the other day.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Cut. That's an edit. That's an edit." We're editing there. Don't worry about that. Let's keep going.
Right.
That's how it works.
I was talking to Sean Kane, and he's a really fun director as well, and he's also a editor, and and I'm just sitting there thinking about the movies that he's worked on, and I'm going like, he's a very good director. He's a fine director, and it's like as far as editing goes, I watched some of the movies that he's edited, and I'm going like, you could definitely tell it was definitely like he was cutting it like it was his own. It was his own movie he was cutting and editing, and it showed, and you could tell how it just elevated the whole project. And I'm going like, what? That's something I would never do again. I got an editor for you. I don't want an editor. I want a director.
Right.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Editors, I think that's what they do. They just get in there and they edit, and that's all they know.
Yeah.
But you get a director in there, and it's like, I can cut this to frame a story, I can hide and I can show and I can direct what I want the audience to see. I guess they would call like an editor, they would call like a meatball surgeon in war. That's all he does is just cut. That's all they know is I know surgery. I don't know how to. I only know how to operate. I don't know anything else. The Audemars, I was looking at that. And I was in the back of my head. I was thinking, why do I know this so much? I never saw the movie, but I do remember that your star in the movie kept on talking about it over and over and over. And then when I started hearing it again, I went and I looked, and you had Alyssa Dowling.
Yes.
In the movie.
Yeah.
So.
She was awesome in it. You got to check it out. She won an award for that performance. I think a couple of them.
Alyssa, I've known Alyssa for years.
No, she's sweet.
Yeah, she was great. I mean, that movie, I'll never forget, like the day because I knew she was going to be right in that part. I knew her for a while too. She had like there was another project we were going to try and do, and she volunteered just to help out and be in this other project. We were doing like a trailer to kind of show it off. And I was so impressed by her enthusiasm and excitement for it and everything that I really wanted to have, her in the film if it happened. And because that film didn't happen, I felt, okay, I got to come up with something else for her. And
you wrote the part.
The part was written for her, and she was just wonderful in it. And I'll never forget the day we did a rehearsal. I remember it was a really stressful day. All sorts of things were going on. And I had the guy in the robot suit, and he was like wearing part of it. And they just did their first interaction, with the robot and her character. And it was magic. It was exactly, you know, how you saw it in your head. It was exactly the way you wanted it to be. And I just was thrilled.
Yeah,
because,
he called me all excited.
Yeah, I knew it was going to work.
Sent me pictures. Look, it's working.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. No, and I still remember that time also when we had I think it was one of the table read, and you were just like, wow, you really are good at casting, because she's great for this part and everything. So
yeah,
it really worked out. And so she was wonderful. And
now is Auto, because I have not seen the movie. That's my fault.
Automation. It's on Amazon Prime. It's everywhere. You can see it now on Tubi and Vudu.
For free.
Yes, for free.
I definitely will. Now, is that a family film?
No, not really. I mean,
it'd be rated R, I think.
Yeah, that one would be rated R, mainly for language. There was just, you know, there was a lot of F-bombs being thrown around in that.
Oh, okay.
And there's lots of blood.
Yeah.
Without giving anything away.
Yeah, but I mean, but it does have heart. I mean, you know, like I said, I wouldn't recommend it for an 8-year-old to watch. No. You know, but you know, if a kid has seen the Terminator, they could watch this. You know.
Okay. Let's see. Now, I don't think. I think she probably would have pinged. We were hoping that maybe we see Elise in here tonight. But I don't think she's. We were hoping. We know that Sadie's over in France right now.
Right.
Now, is your film being represented over there as well? It is.
I don't actually. I really don't know. It's Uncork'd, so they're handling all that, and they have people, you know, who are doing the international sales and stuff. So I'm assuming, you know.
What was it like working with them?
They've been great. I mean, they let me make the movie, you know, we wanted to make. I mean, it was great. I mean,
they came to set once or twice.
It was it was just Jeff Miller and some of the other producers. Like, yeah,
that doesn't happen very often. Most producers they want to know and they want to see, and they were pretty hands off, and they let Garo work the way he needed to do it.
Yeah, and when I sent them the footage, they were
got excited.
Okay. Yeah, because they they were seeing the effects, you know, and how, you know, exciting it all was. So
it really was. I could see why, you know, and credit to them for leaving the hands off. I've seen
there was a little, you know, there was some, you know, like in the earlier stages of the script writing, you know, I think there were questions about how much humor should be in the movie, you know, and we did cut a little bit of that back in the script writing, and the final cut did change a little, but not dramatically. It was more, we had a 98-minute cut, and I knew I wanted to get it down to like 90 minutes. And I got it down to like 92 point something, you know, so there was a little bit of conversation about where to do those cuts and everything, but I found the right balance and it worked out, and they were happy. So, and I was happy. I mean, I love the cut.
And I think we were trying to get the film done a little faster than when we delivered it, but Garo is such a perfectionist when it comes to his work. He wants everything perfect and just right. Yeah. And so he really takes his time.
You can tell that.
But it shows, I think it shows, you know.
It shows big time. Yeah. The kaiju, that could have probably been right there where they all could have went wrong. But there's one thing I was noticing. I was noticing not only did the kaiju have shadows, but you could see where they're hitting the dirt and the dirt was flying. Yeah. It looked practical.
Yeah.
It looked absolutely practical. I was, you know, I'm going like, you know, if I didn't know better, I would swear those guys are those guys are in suits.
That's awesome.
That is, and that, you know, look, creating the sense of weight and keeping the monsters moving in a way where you could see them and not too quickly. I mean, you know, there was a lot of conversations. Steve Clark did all the like animation on the monsters, and Paul Knott, he also did a lot of the effects. But there were a lot of conversations and references to other movies in terms of what these things should look like
and how they should move.
Yeah, and I mentioned stuff like the Ray Harryhausen movies, or the Angry Red Planet was one film that I mentioned for the Planet Xeno sequence, and Yeah, I wanted there to be a sense of awe for these creatures. I don't like it in modern movies where everything just slithers in and out really like at an unnatural fast speed,
And
and
you can't see
yeah, you
anything.
can't see it, you know?
Why have a monster if it's going to be blurry?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what though, and so credit for you for one other thing too, though. Too, we have to give you credit for one other thing too, and that is you kept a lot of your fight scenes in the daylight, and I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciated that
Yeah.
because there's nothing worse than to see a damn fight, you know, like Godzilla and Ghidra. Oh, jeez, can we have it in the
At
daylight?
nighttime in the rain.
Yeah.
You know, every single time that in a kaiju movie, it's always fight at night. I don't, you know, I don't like it. You know, bring it. You know, there's only one movie in the last 20 years I've seen where there's been a nighttime fight that actually worked for me, and that was the first fight in Pacific Rim.
Uh-huh.
That's the only time where that worked. There was like, all right, this is badass. I can't
Yeah,
argue.
Actually,
cool.
I would
But
say the
everything
Kong
else,
versus Godzilla movie did a pretty good job in the neon lit China battle scene.
yeah,
That was,
I just wanted to be brighter.
yeah.
You know, I wanted to be in the daylight where you're, you know, duking it out. You know, I mean, straight out clear. I mean, the Japanese did that really well. You know,
Yeah.
they had a lot of their fights in the daylight, so you can see
Mhm.
all the monsters and see what they're doing. And you know, it's sort of cool to be able to see that.
Yeah.
You
And I
know,
think that's important with action just in general. I mean, you know, sometimes action scenes, just even for like a physical fight scene between two people, a lot of modern movies will shake the camera around and do that like Born Identity stuff or whatever. And I
right?
can't stand that. You know, to me, like, you know, the fight under the airplane in Raiders of the Lost Ark is sort of the gold standard for how you should film something like this, you know?
Right.
And you
Right.
see the people, you know, you're not, the
You can
camera's
follow
not
the
jittering
action.
all
Yeah.
over the place. You should be able to follow the action.
Yeah, the camera shouldn't be a character.
No.
Right. No, never.
No.
Never.
That takes you out.
Yeah. I want to stay in the world of the movie. That's 100% what interests me as a film goer, you know?
So when you got into the now, why you were cutting, or you were working for Lionsgate for 16 years, well, how were you developing your career, Anahit? What were
I was
you
taking
doing to?
I was taking acting classes and auditioning. Like I said, we took my little boy would come with me to the auditions because I couldn't find babysitting.
Yeah.
You know, I love acting. I do it for free. You know what I mean? I think I always will. It's just how I express myself creatively, and I took improv classes. I studied at the Howard Fine Acting Studio. Um, and
Lembeck.
Lembeck,
Yeah.
right? And I also write and produce skits in churches. I did that.
Mhm.
So I would direct skits for like Easter and Christmas and Thanksgiving, or if there's a conference going on. So I'm always keeping my creative juices going in that way.
Yeah.
You know, performing in some form or the other. You know, that kind
Are
of
you?
stuff.
Do you like performing in front of the? Do you like performing in front of the camera, or do you like live theater better?
You know, they're each different. Each has its own challenges. I love the reaction and the energy you get from a live audience. Um, but um, gosh, doing like 3 shows every weekend gets to be a little much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, just having to repeat it over and over again, it just kind of gets stale for me after a while. You know what I mean? The length of time it takes to do theater, I could do another movie. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. Mhm.
It's like I want more. I want more. Give me more. Does that make sense?
Have you got directing fever in you? Have you thought about directing anything yourself as far as feature films go, or maybe even a short film?
Um, I don't have a story that I'm just dying to tell right now. You know, um, um,
but never say
One
never.
one day, yes. I mean, I've got my degree, I can
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
and I've directed before. I love to do it. I just need a really good story. And creatively, we are so different. You know, Garo's monsters and space and things like that, and I'm more drama and comedy and things like this. I love romantic comedies.
Uh, oh yeah, that's a gosh. They need to come back
Oh
because
yeah.
Well, they've all become the Hallmark movies, right? Is that basically where they are?
I don't know.
You know what?
Really
Not the
comedies.
slightly spicy ones.
Yeah.
No.
Hallmark makes some really fine movies. They make some. There's some really good movies. There's some really good movies in Hallmark. Uh,
I mean,
but
one day I think I will. I think I will. But right now, I'm still raising my kids. You know,
how many kids do you have now?
I have two children.
Okay,
You're
so
raising one now.
I was gonna say, one's gone, right?
One's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your oldest, yep.
yeah,
He
He's
had a
grown up.
small
He's
part.
editing for me now.
yeah. God
Oh
is
wow!
teaching him to edit.
Yeah, he's done like 20 trailers. So
Oh my gosh, that's
yeah.
awesome.
He's
Yeah,
good.
19 years
he
old,
started
and
he
he's
started as
great.
Sadie's son.
Yeah.
In
Yeah. Yep. He just did
Uh,
Sadie's trailer for her new movie that she's brought to Cannes. So,
oh, which movie's that?
The Possession of Anne.
Okay,
Yeah.
she was really excited about this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About
Our
Jordan.
son cut the trailer for that movie for Khan. It was great.
She talked about Space Wars forever. She
Oh
was so
wow.
Yeah, she was talking. Yeah, she was very happy. I saw her, on her Instagram and all her socials. She was talking about how excited she was to get this movie out and have people see it. And she loved the character Elnora.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, like in between films, is there any chance that you could do like a 20-minute short film with maybe folks, maybe Jackie could be on a small adventure, just to keep just to keep
Well, that's an idea.
just keep the characters up in front of the public's eye.
I think just doing any, to sit down and actually do any kind of production at that point, it's like we got to
Might
just
as well
make a
shoot it,
movie.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember when we were shooting the demo trailer that we did for this other movie, and part of me was thinking, because it took 2 days to do it. I'm like, wow, we could have actually gotten through a certain level of production of an actual movie within the time you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, at this stage of the game, it's like, I just want to get features made, let's just get them out there,
How long did it take for you to film Space Wars?
9 days on set.
9 days on the sets, 2
9
days
days.
on the exteriors, and then 1 day of pickups.
Yeah.
So
9 days to make that movie. That's
12,
unheard
12
of.
days total.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was designed that way. I mean, Joe is really good at scheduling.
I didn't
Joe
think
and Sarah produced the movie with us because they were with us, right from the beginning. And, just getting the schedule right, knowing, because we only had 3 basic areas where we could do these sets. So we had to shoot out all of each set before we shift to another one and then rebuild something else in that other environment. And then
So we had to do the hero spaceship first, and then the villain spaceship, and then the Stella Star, and it was pages and pages of dialogue. But everyone was such a professional; it was easy to do. You know.
Except the one day we were working for waiting 8 hours for one thing to get done, but we still got it done. It was amazing. Amazing.
I know some of your actors, they're like I'm sitting here going 12 days, but I know some of your actors are used to working under conditions like that with short shooting times.
Yeah.
I think Sarah probably more than anybody else, because she's worked for the Polonia brothers.
Yeah.
She's done a couple of movies for them.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
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 And Sadie shot all of hers in 1 day.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And she's in the whole movie.
Right?
Yeah, she's in the whole movie. She's so cute in that movie.
Yeah.
You got to bring her back. Seriously. You got to bring her back in some sort of capacity, like her twin sister. Or a clone or something like that. It's a science fiction movie, for Christ's sakes. We can bring back clones of Elnora.
It is fun hearing like people like talk about the characters in such loving ways. I mean, there are some people who really want more Manx. They've been saying, well, they want Jed Rowan back as Manx again because
Yeah, he was funny.
Manx's screen time was kind of limited in the film. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
What? I mean, okay, I asked you earlier about writing. You're writing about for the cast members, but why those actors other than Sadie and Sarah? What drew you to those actors? I mean, there's a lot of actors that you could have put in there.
Well, again, a lot of it was just the fact that everyone kind of, it's a small community of people, and everyone kind of knew each other. Jed worked with Sarah and Joe on Pretty Boy and Blind.
Right.
And we knew we could count on him, and also Jed is a huge science fiction fan. When I met with him, we were just geeking out on sci-fi stuff. So he was just so excited to be a part of this. So yeah, that role was actually written for him too. I mean, every part in the movie was written for the actors specifically, because again, we knew these people and we knew we could count on them. And the only two parts that were not written specifically for the actors who were cast was Nina and Dykstra. We knew Dykstra was going to be another sort of name star. We wanted to find someone who could go up against Michael Pare in a convincing fashion. Mm-hmm. So there were some actors we thought it might be, but we ended up lucking into getting Olivier, and that's just it worked. Yeah, it worked perfect. And actually, there was another actress who's wonderful and who was going to be playing the part of Nina, but she ended up having another project that she had to work on, some commitment. So, and it was just happenstance, because I met with Tyler's agent and she recommended Rachel to us. But at the time we already had the role cast. And then when that fell through, we went back and said, hey, would Rachel be willing to do it? And she was in, and it was great.
Yeah, so Rachel was definitely fun to look at.
Oh, isn't she beautiful?
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
And she really could handle the physicality is something very important in the movie. You had to have people who could throw punches convincingly and get into the action and stuff, and
do it safely.
Yeah, and she was great. Yeah. She was very experienced in that.
Yeah, I thought she was definitely a highlight too. But you, Jackie, I mean, Jackie just, it's like I saw her, she comes out there, and then I was thinking, boy, this is gonna be fun. It's like, okay, what's she gonna bring? What's she gonna bring to the party? And all of a sudden, this is like, and then she was so damn cute, and I'm going like, man, she's stealing this whole damn movie. And I didn't know any of your work either on it. I didn't know. And I'm just sitting there watching the movie. Going, you know what? I know Sadie, Sadie, and I knew Oliver. And I knew Michael. I knew them only simply by their work. And of course, I've talked to Sadie before, so I knew her. But I didn't know you or some of the other cast. I mean, I'm just watching you, and I'm going like, man, she's so damn cute. And then at the end of it, where you guys are all teaming up together to fly off to another adventure, I was just like, yeah, this movie needs to have a sequel, because this is a lot of fun. And I just really want to go to other directors and sit there and say, this is how you take your small budget and you put every single penny on the screen. You put it on there. You don't save anything back for it. You put it all on there, because fans know. They know when you're giving them 100%, and even not even 90%. They know, for an independent movie, when everything's on the screen.
Yeah.
And they know when it's not. Believe me, you.
Yeah.
So when you first started acting and you first started directing, now what was the first movie that you ever worked on together as far as director and actress? And how do you guys resolve conflicts if there's something that one doesn't see the other way? Do you always defer to the director, or do you have like a rewrite?
No. When it comes to writing and directing, like I said, we're creatively very different. He will ask for my opinion and I will ask for his, but in the end, it's his decision because it's his creative vision. I can give him my opinion, but in the end, he's going to do what his vision is. He respects my opinion and he'll take it into consideration. If I bring up something that he hasn't thought about, he'll incorporate it. If not, he'll just throw that away and continue. Well, no, it's okay, but that's all right. He also likes to talk out loud creatively, right? So he needs a sounding board. So I just let him do the talking, and eventually, sometimes I don't have to say a thing because he already knows what he wants. He just has to verbalize it, and then he walks away. I'm like, glad I could help. And when it comes to me writing and directing, I will say, this is what I'm thinking. This is the direction that I'm thinking of going. What do you think? Mm-hmm. And then he'll give me his opinion, and I'll do the same. If it works with the vision that I have, I'll incorporate it. If it doesn't, and we give each other that space. And I think it's just respect for each other's vision and creativity. And we trust each other's opinion that we'll tell each other the truth. And we depend on that.
You mentioned earlier about actors and whatnot. Is that still a prevalent problem for independent productions, in the sense that, and how do you handle it? Is that still a prevalent problem where sometimes the talent doesn't show up? Do you ever have that problem?
They don't show up. There are some actors who feel entitled and behave like they're on a $2 million movie. You're like, wait a minute, we're all doing 2-3 jobs. This is low budget.
But we've been very lucky on our films. We really haven't had anything.
What I'm talking about is being in acting class and listening to other people talk and things like this. It's like, just be happy you're able to work. Why are you making such a big deal out of this issue? It's just like, show up and what a privilege. We get to play. We get to play and be creative and do a movie. I just feel so privileged to be able to do that. To put up a stink about something is so ridiculous to me, but there are actresses that do that.
Yeah, one of the things that was wonderful with Joe and Sarah was that they just really, they feel the same way about films like this that we do. I mean, it's just, they're just excited and happy to be doing this. And it's very infectious when people are all excited and everyone else becomes excited. And it just creates this great feeling on the set that we're all working together to create something fun. We just want to make cool movies, and that's it. I mean, it's that simple,
Now, are you guys working? Are you on you just finished this one, so you're probably going to do promotion for. How long do you usually do promotion for a film before you start getting itchy to start the next one?
Well,
he's already got the itch.
we're already thinking about it, and I mean, it's really all dependent on how well this film does. So we'll know in a couple months, how well it's doing, and if there's a demand for more. We couldn't do it at the same budget we did this one at this point. We need, because
we pulled in every favor. You know what I mean? We can't do it like that again.
I mean, and really a lot of it, a lot of the cost savings are just because I do know post. So I was my own editor. I did a lot of the sound design myself. There was a lot of work that went into that. I mean, we did bring in other sound people later, and I had some assistant editors. But
I love the sound. I was hoping against hope when I watched it. I was suspecting a certain sound design, and then when I got what I got, I was so happy about that too. I thought it would be so easy to fall into the 80s synthesizer type music.
Oh no. No way. That was a huge. So when I got to so Joel Christian Goffin, our composer, who's a genius, he did the music on Automation. And that movie, he did that soundtrack in just like 4 weeks. And it was wonderful. He created all these beautiful themes for the characters and everything. And it just blew me away. So when I started talking to Jeff Miller about doing a space movie, I told Joel, hey, I want to do a space movie. what do you think of doing a score like Elmer Bernstein meets James Horner and John Williams? He's like, what? Let me think of. And then like a couple hours later, he sent me a cue of music that he just whipped up, and that became the theme of what we ended up doing. It started with this whistle, and it became this big brawny score, which kind of reminded me of Elmer Bernstein's Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden score.
Did he use an orchestra?
Had that brawn.
Did he use an orchestra, a live orchestra for your score?
No, it was all synth. But he just really knew how to do it and make it sound like an orchestra, and it was just phenomenal. I mean, he worked himself to the brink to make this thing, and he again, he had as much passion for this movie as I did. It's that kind of thing. You need people who are passionate and willing to do everything they can to see this thing through to the end. And he gave it everything he got, and he's thrilled with the results. You can buy the soundtrack now too. The soundtrack's available out there, and it's a great soundtrack. It's just, he delivered something that's just great to listen to on its own. I mean, it's fantastic.
This movie got a hard release, a hard copy release. I was glad to see.
Mm-hmm.
Got a Blu-ray DVD released by Uncork'd.
It's just DVD right now. We have a DVD, but it does have some extras and stuff. So
we're doing a signing this Saturday.
Yeah, this Saturday over at Dark Delicacies in Burbank.
Nice. That's a great place to go to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you ever had an event there yet?
We did for Automation. We signed Blu-rays of Automation when that came out. So that was fun.
Nice. I'm so happy about that when I read that, because I asked, because I got a screener, and that was actually one of my questions was in my review was, will this get a hard release? I hope it does, because it deserves it. This is the type of movie I want to put on my shelf.
Yeah.
Great. Well, yeah, you can get it. It's in Walmart right now. You could actually buy it physically in the store, or order it from Amazon or Best Buy.
The biggest question I have is, do you have a copy? Either one of you? Do you guys each have your own copy?
Garo's been giving them away. Yeah.
Well, not really. I haven't given them away yet. I'm going to.
You said you tried to give it to somebody and someone took it.
Yeah.
What?
That was we went to there was someone I owed a copy to, and someone else took it from me and wanted it, which shouldn't happen. But the bottom line is, I got them for cast and crew.
Right. Well, that's impressive, because you don't know how many times I've talked to a director on here, and I'll sit there and say, yeah, I really enjoyed your album and your movie, and I was checking out the special features, and I was really listening to the commentary, and they're sitting there going like, wow, you're doing better than I am. I'm like, what?
Yeah. We did a commentary. There's a great commentary on there with us two and Sarah and Joe, and the bloopers and deleted scenes and all sorts of good stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah. You can get that at all the. I was really happy to see it though, because it does seem that less and less indie movies are actually getting that kind of release.
Right.
You're not really seeing those as much anymore, which is why I was really concerned. A lot of times, for an independent movie, you're just seeing strictly, okay, we finished it, we turn around and it's going strictly to Tubi, and it's just like, no, I really don't want that for this movie. I'd like for it to be able to get a copy of this, someday, and so it's good to see that it did get a physical media release, and you got copies, save 2 of them. Anahit, I'm supposed to let you know this too.
Yes.
After this, write this down: 1972, Godzilla versus Gigan.
Okay.
So,
I like that movie.
Yes, me too.
Okay.
We are huge Team Gigan fans here.
Okay.
Yeah, we're hoping that Gigan will make an appearance in the next Godzilla movie. But
I love Gigan.
Me too.
Like a robot chicken thing,
Yeah. Space chicken. So who's out there right now that you look at? Do you ever look at anybody else's work and not necessarily be inspired by it, but look at it and admire it or respect it and go like, they did a great job? And is there anybody out there that really like sparks you? Like, man, that's fun. That's a good.
As far as acting or directing?
Both. Both. Like, if for your next movie, are you gonna use the same people before as you have, or are you gonna venture out and find fresh faces to do roles?
Well,
Well,
we would use a lot of the same characters, who are still there from the previous one.
I'm not
But
talking about
yeah, we would
I'm talking about your
probably
next movie, not necessarily a sequel, but I'm talking about just your next movie in general.
oh, in
right.
general.
Are you going to be using the same cast that you've used for the previous two movies, or are you going to try to go out there and maybe cast
It
fresh actors?
It
depends.
depends what the project is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, our core group is so tight, and there's something to be said for dependability, especially on a low budget. People you've worked with before and people you trust. But I'm all for opening up opportunities for new actors and new faces, because I'm one of those actors where people didn't know what to do with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I look European, I look Hispanic, I look Middle Eastern, but I don't speak any of those languages. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times directors didn't know what to do with me. But the brilliant thing about low budget films is you get an opportunity,
Right.
Right.
and here's my biggest fan, and he wrote a part in there for me, and I got to have some fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
And thanks to Joe for writing this character, and also thanks to Rolf for writing such a wonderful character for you in automation. Also.
yeah, it's a smaller part, but still, it was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. In
Um,
fact, he saved your life. Remember, because in the original version, something
I
bad
died.
happened to you. He's like, we
oh
can't.
my.
We can't do
My
that.
character died.
Yeah, and Rolf liked her so much. He's like, no, we can't do that. Like, all right, okay, good.
No. That's what I mean. See, that's what I'm saying. Someone put down in the chat. I don't know who that is, but someone wrote down in the chat, "Save Elnora." What? What?
We gotta let Sadie know. Let's see.
Sadie, we love you, Sadie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's so much fun. I bet in person she's just an absolute hoot.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah, and again, it was it was something, because I mean, she had a lot to do in one day. She was our first day of production. All of her scenes, and she just knocked it out of the park. I mean, and
She's
nailed the
beautiful.
performance and the right tone that we needed for that. So,
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes, I mean, I like how she kept Kip on the edge. I mean,
Yeah.
Kip was so self assured in the whole movie, but every time he dealt with Nora, he's sitting there on the tight wire like, I don't know what to say to her, because it's like, like my sister did. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How she died? I killed her. You can hear that. The drum beat. Okay, you got me. So what is did your films have your films been released in Armenia? Are you recognized in
No
I
idea.
know automation was translated
Into
into
Russia. Yeah, it was Russia.
We saw a Russian trailer of our movie and one guy was doing everybody's voices,
Yeah.
which was fascinating.
Yeah. Especially when he tried to change his tone to match Alyssa Dowling or Sadie Katz's voice. But it's a Russian guy doing the voices for everybody.
Oh,
That was something. But I don't know if anyone in Armenia has seen it. I don't know.
No.
is that something that you? I mean, if you went to Uncork'd and you sit there, I mean, do you ever go to Armenia? Do you have family still over there at all? I mean,
I do.
Yeah, my dad went there, but I haven't gone.
Garo's father has worked in Armenia.
Mm-hmm.
I still have family there on my mother's side, but I haven't been back for years. I was in my early 20s when I went back.
I'm still sure. Obviously, you still talk to your family. What did they think about your career in Hollywood? Is it something that do they understand it? Do they understand that it's you're acting, you're on the big screen?
You know what? They don't know.
What?
They don't know.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. I must say it was quite challenging growing up in the Armenian community, wanting to be in this business, because culturally speaking, and we're talking about over 20 years ago now, the expectation of an Armenian young lady was to get married and to have a family. And when prospective suitors would approach and ask, "Oh, what are you studying?" Da, 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 da. And I would say, "Oh, radio and television communications." And they're really like, "Why? You're supposed to be barefoot and pregnant." And I'm like, no, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
um, so, and in most of my classes, I was typically the only girl in my classes. And that was common 20 years ago. Um, so,
You would like to think that you'd like to think it would change. You'd like to see that somebody over there, maybe in Armenia, looks and excuse me, it sees
y-
you on camera, and go like, "Oh my gosh, that's me up there." That, I'm being represented.
Yeah,
Do
it's
you,
you and
I
do
hope
you
so.
both carry that? Do you carry that both with you? Do you carry that with you? You know, uh,
I I want my community, when they do see me, to be proud of what they see. You know, I'm not gonna be able to change people's minds overnight, um, uh, but I want to represent them well. Um, do they know who I am right now? No, nobody does. But that's okay.
oh,
But
I think there's people out there now.
I wouldn't mind one day being the first Armenian actress to win an Oscar either. You know what I'm saying?
why not?
Right?
Why not?
Why not?
And you never know when these things can happen. Again, you know, when you talk about people like, wanting to have a career and family and all that, I mean, we've had our family,
Yeah.
and it took longer maybe to get a movie made than maybe we would have initially wanted to, but we have done it. Now we've got 2 movies and
You
we've
can
got,
have it all.
yeah,
It's just got to be in seasons,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Right.
We got married, we started a family,
Yeah.
we
Had a
both kept
career, editing.
creatively our feet and hands in this and that along the way.
Mhm.
Now our oldest son has graduated, he's moved out of the house, we still have one at home, and we're getting a little more freedom.
Mhm.
And so it's in seasons. You can have it, but it's got to be in season.
Yeah.
So we're in a transition period right now, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where the next 5 years is going to take us.
Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
not closing any doors. I'm open to every opportunity that comes my way.
What's your opinion about what's going on with the writer strike? Are you been paying attention to that? I mean, has that impacted you?
I'm not paying any attention. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm not a member. I haven't. I've never worked on a union sort of project myself. Right now, I mean, we're independent.
Even when you're
Oh,
working,
but I should add. I mean, I should add. It is weird that these. Again, not trying to get too much in the middle of it, but it's like when these I'm not really into these big streaming services. I don't own all these streamers and stuff. I prefer things a la carte. I prefer to just buy a movie I want to see. I don't want to have to buy a channel to have to watch the one movie I want to watch and therefore fund a bunch of films I don't want to watch. It kind of takes that democracy out of the product. You know what I mean? It's like, I wish things could just be as simple as, oh, a new Predator movie is out. I can see it in a theater and then I can buy the Blu-ray. That's what I like. I don't like the idea that, oh, you can get the first 4 Predator movies on Blu-ray, but you want the 5th one, you've got to subscribe to this service and pay every month so you can have it in your library. It's like, but it's not really in your library. You don't really own it. You can't just at your own leisure. You know what I'm saying? I'm not into that. So,
no.
and how this ties into the strike thing is, it's just the way those deals, I know from my understanding of how they were all structured earlier on between writers and streamers, it was based on other ideas of what streaming was versus what it actually has become. So it's a real big mess because the studios are not making very
smart
should I say, product that's really as popular enough to justify the streaming services.
No.
So
No,
but they're also
I
ripping
mean
off.
they put a lot of stuff out there, but it's yeah, I thought it was pretty telling to the fact that Disney came back. Bob Iger came back there, and his predecessor had did nothing but throw everything at the streaming service. And then one of the first things that Bob Iger did when he got back was sit there saying that we're going to be bringing back physical media.
Yeah.
Everything that we're showing on Disney Plus, we're going to start bringing that out back on physical media. I think we'll see that come Christmas, as far as everything being released out there, because there's like for every for maybe there's 20% of America that has streaming, but still release 80% that doesn't.
Right.
And they're not and it all depends on I guess who you talk to. Streaming services rise and fall. I mean, there's one, like I think they lost like something like 8 million subscribers in India. They just
Wow.
dropped. Like, wow, okay, well, that's a big chunk of change right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just was checking out the writer's strike and the fact that to me this also falls to the actors too. I just want to see them get paid, fairly. I mean, that's one
Yeah.
thing. We're all fans. We're all fans of filmmakers and actors and actresses. We just
Yeah.
want to be paid, like, hey, just because they show the movie once, you show the movie once, and then you put it on a streamer, and then you show it 20 times, doesn't mean that the people who made it shouldn't not get paid 20 times.
Right.
If you're paying them royalties on TV, do it
Yeah.
on the streamer,
I mean, we had an incident this afternoon. Garo found something. What was it? I don't even know what was on. Someone has gotten pictures of our posters and wants to put them on backpacks
They're
or
selling
whatever.
them. It's like,
And
what?
it's my name
I know. It's like,
and my picture. No one asked me about it.
yeah.
They just and I'm like, who is this person and who's getting all the money?
Yeah.
Like,
Is there any? But are they even selling anything either? It's weird. It's weird. It's like like I've been spending time like on YouTube finding like the pirate sites. You know what I mean? Or like fake sites saying, "Oh, free Space Wars movie right here, right now," and flagging them all so they're not actually out there.
Right.
I was just upset that no one's asked my permission to use my
Yeah.
name and picture.
No, I agree. I mean, it's bizarre.
And they're wanting to make money off of it.
It's all new territory for us here.
Right.
I mean, we're not in the place where we have like lots of attorneys working on everything all the time to make sure so it's like, okay, well, how do you deal with this?
And I'm sure it's like, Uncork'd doesn't have the staff to hawk everybody either. I'm sure that if they see it, they'll definitely act on it.
I wouldn't know.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for our guests? Any questions? I'm not sure how many people have seen the movie besides myself. I maybe Echo Zero, maybe Mr. Bones. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, I got a screener from to watch it, and I watched it 3 times. Thank you very much.
Oh, bless you.
That's right. I know it's really hard. The hardest part about getting a screener is that you really want to be like, oh my god, especially when a movie is like you really love. You're going like, oh man, I gotta share this with somebody, but you can't.
Yeah, but you can recommend it to them. It's available everywhere.
I recommend it, but I never show the screener.
Yeah.
But I do recommend it. And I'm like, yeah, it's an awesome movie, and I've been hyped on it. Right now, it definitely is in my top 20 of favorite movies of the year. For sure. I can tell you that without a doubt. It will make the list because there's a lot of A24 films out there that I absolutely hate. So
there's plenty of films out there to make you feel bad. There's a lot less that make you feel good.
Yeah, that's for sure. I want to thank you guys for coming by and hanging out with us. I had an absolutely blast. Listen, we got some questions.
Okay.
One question here. He wants to know what's your each favorite movie? Well, we already know if for
Aliens for me.
Aliens for Anahit, and Godzilla versus Gigan for Garo.
I probably, I have a lot of favorites.
Okay.
But I think I probably have to go back to where everything kind of began, and then you kind of revert to the oldest movie on your favorite list. So it would probably be King Kong, the 1933 Kong. I just
What,
love
what did
that
you like
movie.
better? What did you like better, the 33 Kong or
Mm.
Jackson's Kong?
Oh, the 33. In terms of pacing and story and structure, it's just perfect. It's a perfect movie. I mean, you're not going to beat the pacing of that movie. Once they get to the island, it moves like you wouldn't believe, all the way to, from the moment they land on the island to Kong falling off the skyscraper, by the Empire State Building. The movie is just pure action. And I just love that sort of 3-act structure, the Peter Jackson Kong has a lot of merits to it. In fact, a lot of people say it was too long. I actually like the extended version of it better because it's more balanced in terms of its length, because it's more dinosaur stuff in the middle of the movie, which it's just the problem with that movie. It's like, I feel like if you just took an edit system and put the original Kong in it, then took Peter Jackson's Kong and just sort of overlay it to the old Kong and just sort of tightened it up so it's kind of more matches that, it would be a perfect movie,
It is.
It's just a little
It's
too
my
excessive.
favorite one. It's
What was
I
it?
love the Jackson version. It's so good for me.
It's
I
great. I
really
mean, all the action and the spectacle, Naomi Watts. I mean, I love all that. I mean, it's wonderful. I just think they went a little too serious in some of the, stuff with the other sailors and things like that, but
which
still a
is
good
really
movie.
good because that was like the first time I really ever saw Jack Black. He came across in a serious role.
Yeah.
And it's funny too is because you go back to 1976's King Kong, and they did the same thing. They
Yeah.
put Charles Grodin in that role, and he
Yeah.
was also a very well known comedian at the time. I
Yep.
thought that was really interesting. That's a really interesting choice to do that. You saw that and go like, okay, then you saw the Jack Black being cast, and you're going like, okay, they're taking a page from '76. What else are they going to take a page from? But that was basically it. That
There
was
was
going.
definitely some of Robert Armstrong in what Jack Black was trying to do there, and I still love that character in the original one, and the sequel in Son of Kong. It's just such a fascinating movie because it like takes place right in the aftermath of King Kong, and all the people of New York are after Carl Denham because they want to sue him because of all the damage Kong did. It was just such a great
Right,
way to start the movie, and then he has to leave New York.
right. Uh, uh, yeah, we were just talking about the 33 Kong last Sunday. That's why it's pretty interesting. We're talking about it now because we were just talking about that. We were comparing The Shining 1980 versus the miniseries, which was a
Oh
better
wow.
movie. Yeah, I rooted for the miniseries.
There,
Um,
there was definitely something to that mini. I remember reading about, because I mean, I didn't read the book, but I understood, because I mean, for years I had heard Stephen King didn't like the original Shining, which I considered a masterpiece. But then when I saw the miniseries, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what he felt was missing, in the other
yeah,
one. I
yeah.
at least understood it.
The book is brilliant. It's one of
Yeah,
his better books. It
yeah,
really is. And a lot of times you run across people who have not read it, and it's like, trust me, you understand why he was pissed off once you read it, and you'll be pissed off too.
yeah,
You read the book, and and then you see the movie, and you're just like, oh hell to the no, because I mean, think about your favorite movie or your favorite book that you read, and then you're missing like half of it. You
Yeah.
know, you know, like Peter Jackson did the same thing with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That was he took a critical part of the book, a big part of the book. He didn't put it in there,
Yeah.
and it was just it didn't affect the movie. But if you read the book, you noticed it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Thank you again for so much for coming in.
yeah.
We're gonna go ahead and let you guys go. I want to say thank you to the chat for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. I appreciate it so much. We had an awesome day between Garo and Anahit and
Yes.
Rocky Reynolds. We have had an awesome day here, and I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Patrick.
Tomorrow night we'll be back here at 8 o'clock with singer songwriter Michelle Aragon. Friday we'll be back here with Michelle Lynn Blasky. She leads the band Ms. 44, and she'll be here at 8 o'clock. And what a way to end up the week. Tomorrow night, well, actually, I take it back. Tomorrow night we'll have Matt Fasci will be with us. Thursday is Michelle Aragon, and Friday is Michelle Lynn Blasky. I have so many at all the time. You know, if I didn't have a calendar, I would just implode. You guys stay right where you're at. I'm going to say goodnight to the chat, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace. Come on. There we go.